Alright. It is Wednesday, September 5th, 2018 at 1:24 p.m. Alright, let's take a look at some headlines. Judy Garland, stolen ruby slippers found after 13 years. Alright guys, I first became aware of the Judy Garland ruby slippers because of Josh Gates, an Expedition Unknown. He did a show on it and it was fascinating. And I can't believe they were actually found. Alright, let's take a look at this headlines. A pair of ruby slippers worn by Judy Garland in The Wizard of Oz has been found 13 years after being stolen, according to U.S. authorities. They were taken from a Minnesota museum in 2005 when someone broke in through a window late at night. Three other pairs of ruby slippers worn by Garland in the 1939 film were which are known to exist. An anonymous donor offered an estimated $1 million reward for the stolen pair's whereabouts and the thief's name. However, the reward expired on the 10th anniversary of the robbery. It is unknown if the shoe's recovery is related to any tip-offs. In press conference on Tuesday afternoon, no specific details were given about where they were found or how. FBI Special Agent Joan Sanborn indicated that the investigation was still ongoing. We've gathered lots of information on this case. We believe there's lots more to give, she said. The slippers are often said to among the most valued props in movie history. This pair was insured for $1 million, but experts have said they could be worth 2 times that now. How were they stolen? The Judy Garland Museum in Grand Rapids, Garland's birthplace, had been loaned the slippers from a collector named Michael Shaw. The theft was described as a simple smash and grab, with the glass case display being destroyed and the slippers snatched. Almost no clues were left behind, neither footprints nor fingerprints, and the surveillance camera was not working that night. Alright, so the slippers were stolen and they were returned 13 years later. I am so amazed that they were actually found. Alright, hopefully Josh Gates gets to do an update and actually shows the slippers now that they're found. Alright, next, meat testing. A fifth of samples reveal unspecified animal DNA. More than a fifth of meat sample tests in 2017 found DNA from animals not on the labeling, the BBC has learned. Out of 665 results from England, Wales, and Northern Ireland collected by the Food Standards Agency, 145 were partly or wholly made up of unspecified meat. The FSA said levels were consistently with deliberate inclusion, but added testing had targeted those businesses suspected of compliance issues. The samples came from 487 businesses, including restaurants and supermarkets. So, a BBC Freedom of Information request of the FSA revealed a total of 73 of the contaminated samples came from retailers, including 3 supermarkets. A further 50 came from restaurants, while 22 originated from manufacturing of food processing plants. It also showed some samples contained DNA from as many as 4 different animals, while others contained no trace of the meat that have appeared on the product label. Meat labeled as lamb was most likely containing traces of other animals' DNA, followed by beef and goat. Cow DNA was the most commonly found contaminant, followed by pig, chicken, sheep, and turkey. The most commonly mislabeled products was mincemeat, while sausages, kebabs, and restaurant curries also featured prominently. Other products in the database include ready meals such as spaghetti bolognese and curries, pizzas, and portions of ostrich meat, which contained only beef. Wow, so there's a lot of animals in these mixtures of meat. So that is something to be aware of in England, that the meat that you're ordering may actually have other animals in it. I don't even know how the meat sections are in the United States, if this actually is also happening in the United States, but that is something to be aware of in England. Alright. Alright, Russia hole in space station was likely act of sabotage. We had, in another video, looked at this article of a hole in the space station from a meteorite. Now they say Russia saying hole in space station was likely an act of sabotage. The hole discovered in Russia's International Space Station last week was likely deliberately drilled to destroy the mission, space agency officials said Tuesday. Astronauts last week noticed a drop in pressure caused by a small hole and thought the gap was caused by a tiny meteorite. The country's space agency told uh, Phys.org. An astronaut ended up using his finger to temporarily plug it. But the hole may have been a cosmically twisted plot to sabotage the satellite, possibly carried out by a psychologically disturbed astronaut who wanted to go home early, the Science News outlet reported, citing experts and government officials. If a cosmonaut pulled this strange stunt that can't be ruled out, it's really bad, said Maximum Survey of President Vladimir Putin's ruling party on the state-run RIA Novosti news agency, according to the outlet. We're all human and anyone might want to go home, but this method is really low, he said. A drill capable of making the hole was stored on the craft, he said. If the hole hadn't been spotted, astronauts would have run out of air in 18 days, according to the UK Telegraph. It is also possible the drilling occurred while the space station was still grounded on Earth, said the space agency chief Dmitry Rogozin. There were several attempts at drilling, he said. There is a version that we do not rule out deliberately interference in space. When the leak was detected last week, one astronaut on board, Alexander Gerst, first plugged it with his finger. The crew then patched up the hole with a rubber plug made from duct tape, gauze, and vacuum-proof sealant, the Telegraph reported. Okay, so there was a possibility of sabotage up in space. We don't know if it was actually an astronaut going, cabin crazy up there and deciding to want to go home and drill a hole, or if the hole was actually drilled before that part of the space station went up there. So that is kind of bad. Hopefully it doesn't happen again, and hopefully they catch whoever drilled that hole, because that's not cool. Alright, next. Brazil's biggest meteorite and other artifacts survived the massive fire. I had reported in another video that there was a massive fire in the Museum of Brazil, where they keep all their history and artifacts, and there was, I guess, some of these were rescued. The biggest meteorite and a few other notable artifacts survived the catastrophic fire that destroyed the National Museum of Brazil on Sunday. The Bendigo meteorite, the largest ever found in Brazil, survived the fire. It is one of approximately a dozen meteorites that were part of the museum's collection prior to the fire. The space rock was found near the town of Monte Santo in the Brazilian state of Bahia in 1784, Space.com added. It weighs approximately 11,600 pounds, and it's made of iron and nickel. Alright, according to the museum's description of the meteorite, it was originally supposed to be transported to Brazil's capital, but wound up falling out of the wooden cart which was used to transport it and crashed into a stream. It stayed in the stream for another century when Brazil Emperor Pedro II had the meteorite relocated to the museum. It has been on display since 1888. Other items have been recovered, officials said, including bone fragments from a collection, raising hopes that the famed skull might somehow have survived the massive blaze and turn historic and scientific artifacts to ashes. The firefighters found fragments of bones in the room where the museum kept many items, including skulls, said Cristina Serena, the museum's vice director. We still have to collect them and take them to the lab to know exactly what they are. In its collection of about 20 million items, one of the most prized possessions is a skull called Luzia, which is among the oldest fossils ever found in the Americas. Museum spokesman Marcio Martins noted that the collection contains hundreds of skulls, and all material would first need to be examined by the federal police, who are investigating the still unknown cause of the fire. Experts will examine them to determine their identity. Alright, so they still have to go through all of this artifacts that they rescued from the fire and test them to see exactly what they are. Alright, hopefully a lot of the items were safe and they didn't lose a lot. Alright guys, that is it for today. You guys stay safe, God bless. Hit the like button, subscribe, and have a good one.